So I have some complaints about Marxism. Um, but let me start off by saying that I am not a libertarian or a free market capitalist in any sense of the word. Um, and I'm sure you're going to get lots of videos and rebuttals claiming that capitalism is the only thing that's going to save humanity, that Marxism has been a complete and abject failure. Okay? Uh, and there's a certain amount of validity to that. I think that Marxism certainly was uh, the next intellectual step beyond capitalism. I don't see how it could succeed, though, or compete with capitalism. Um, so, to me, Marxism represents an advancement in the intellectual understanding of society, but it's not the end point. Um, I think people who advocate capitalism because Marxism has been a failure are not really looking beyond Marxism at all. That they see Marxism as the next step. There's an abject failure. That means that capitalism is the end point. And I have to disagree. Just because Marxism failed does not mean the developmental phase before it, preceding it, is the end point. The end point could be beyond Marxism, and I believe it is. I think that Marxism is as an intellectual development is very important, but I don't think it's the end point. I don't think a classless society is a valid end point, and that's my biggest disagreement with Marxism, is that it aims to create a classless society, and I think that's just a big mistake. All right. I think that social organization requires leadership, and that societies need social organization in order for them to function. Okay, there's logistics and practical matters about how to produce goods, about how to distribute goods, about how to provide services, police, fire department, just all these things that civilization needs in order for it to function, for it to be an organic whole, require organizations, and organizations, in order to exist, have to have leadership. Otherwise, they will wither, they will erode. Right? It's pretty simple. There are various types of organizations. There's corporations, there's unions, there's churches. All these organizations fill some kind of social function. Right? Now, we can argue about the validity of some of the belief systems in these organizations, but the belief system doesn't necessarily have to be true in order for that organization to fill some social function. Right? So I'm not going to argue that the belief systems of these organizations are true. I'm just saying that they fill some social function. There's nothing precluding the possibility of having a more truth-based belief system driving some of these organizations. All right, so that's something to consider. But I just want to reiterate that I believe social organizations are necessary in order for civilization to exist. Without social organization, it would be, shall we say, chaos. Right? You need to have some amount of organization and planning, and someone who has a more abstract view of what's going on. I am a pragmatist, and I believe that people's intellectual capacity is by necessity limited to a certain extent, and that we have certain levels of abstraction. Now, the difference between classes, in my opinion, is the level of abstraction that they operate at. And at what we would consider the lower classes would be people who have got very concrete abstract principles. Someone working at a higher class would be working in a more abstract realm. Now, it's labor. Organization and leadership is labor, and it bears fruit, okay? So I don't see the idea that someone providing leadership is just a parasitic relationship with labor, okay? I see that these classes are of necessity because leadership is labor. It's working and producing something at a more abstract, symbolic level, okay? And it's valuable, all right? Absolutely valuable. But one of the problems I see with strict free market capitalism is that it does not provide equal opportunity, all right? I think equal opportunity is one of the cornerstones of society. And you mentioned this, what Marx said was social upheaval, that until we reach a certain state that there will be continued social upheaval. I don't think the end point for social upheaval is a classless society, but I think the end point for social upheaval is a society not which is classless, but which there is class mobility. And for class mobility, for people to more or less determine what class they want to work at and be satisfied with their position in society and their class in society, I think that satisfaction comes from equal opportunity. That people who have positions of power are not there because they are born into privilege, but that they have earned their way through talent and hard work, through merit. They have earned their way to a position of leadership, that they are providing leadership, working at a higher level of abstraction because of the competence they have displayed in doing so. All right. So I think that's absolutely crucial, and that's my complaint about free market capitalism, is it provides absolutely no mechanism for guaranteeing equal opportunity. What it does instead is, because there's no corrective mechanism, is it practically guarantees that class divisions will become entrenched into the status quo within families, and that equal opportunity will cease to exist, that people will be born into certain classes from which they will never be able to escape. All right? And this works in both ways. You'll have people who are extremely talented and qualified who will be in lower classes, who will be very critical of people born into privilege but are incompetent because they have not earned that leadership. Okay? And this is what breeds social dissatisfaction. This is the thing that is going to cause upheaval. Right? And I believe that the end point is not where there's no classes, but where there's class mobility. That is, people believe that the position they have earned through their labor and everything else, that they belong, that is where they belong. That if they're in a position of leadership, it's because they have earned their way there, and that they belong there. And that if they are in a lower class, it's because they belong there. That they have competed with others and they understand the things that have caused them to lose those competitions, right? So I like competition. I like competition. I think that's one of the best things about capitalism. But unfortunately, with free market capitalism, what happens is not that it promotes capitalism. Once there starts to develop class differences, is that the upper classes actively try to eliminate competition from the system, right? And that's the problem with capitalism. So I see it. The beginning game, the one that the free market capitalists all sell, is the beginning game where there's lots and lots of competition, which I like. But what develops in the end game, once the class distinctions become more and more apparent, is that the upper classes, the winners, try to eliminate the competition, right? And that's what happens. So, anyways, so my basic critique, if you were to take away one criticism about Marxism from me in this video, it would be that I do not believe in a classless society, right? So that's all I'm going to say. Thanks for watching. Bye.